We're going to start right now with, of course, Steve Collison, director, writer, producer, actor. Come on up, Steve.
Okay.
And next up, the lead actor, Liana András. Then we've got on the list her co-lead, Mr. András, Balázs. Cinematographer, Mr. Gábor, Szentiványi. And also over from the UK, Mr. Stewart, Cuthew, who did the soundtrack and composed the soundtrack.
A huge thank you to everyone. I had this idea, and it was really about film grammar. It's about where we put the camera, about the POV, looking through the eyes of Liana's character being an unreliable narrator throughout the film. So it was something I wanted to explore. It was an idea on a technical level and also on an aesthetic level. So thank you, a huge thank you to everyone who has been a part of this from the beginning all the way to the end. And when I say the end, I've had a few people who've test screened the film for me in the last week or so, and that's been a huge help because we've just been able to massage it. And also a big thank you to some people who flew in for this weekend. So obviously Liana and Stewart. We have Debbie on the third row here who's come in from Ireland, and again I think you're in the film at least 3 times.
My voice.
Your voice twice and in person as well. We have Martin Starek, who's been my collaborator for many years and a trusted advisor and friend who's come in from Prague. We have Timmy in from Oslo as well. And did I get everyone?
Well, unless you've mentioned pretty much everybody in the audience.
Yeah, I know.
You haven't thanked everybody yet.
Cool. All right, then I'm definitely going to shut up now, but a huge thank you. And I've got one round of applause maybe for everyone who's coming today. Thank you.
So Steve, tell us about how this all happened.
So, I started film school in end of 2014. 2 years masters at ELTA, and we have actually in the audience here my cinematography tutor, Janusz Verchenius, somewhere, but so a representative from ELTA right at the back. And for my thesis, everyone needs to shoot some sort of film. Now, as some of you will already know, I'd already kind of made a few. The requirements were you needed to shoot maybe sort of a 10-minute film. Something like that. But as many of you know, and perhaps many of you have crewed or started, I've already kind of done a lot of films that are around sort of 10 minutes. In fact, Martin Starek, somewhere here as well, has been in a lot of my...
Raise your hand, Martin.
There you go,
yeah.
in the front there. He's been in the whole string of silent comedies that we've shot. So, for my thesis film, I wanted to do something that was a little bit more ambitious than perhaps was expected of me, but also to use it as an opportunity to push things from my own side. So that was the remit, and then really I started writing in the final year of my masters, and I wanted to. I'd met András Balázs. Round of applause, please, for András Balázs. I met András at film school, and he's a very accomplished actor, but also starting to work on the production side. So we'd started collaborating, and really for this film, I wanted to do something perhaps for András. We'd already made a couple of little films together, and I wanted to try and perhaps do something where we could stretch András's acting abilities to perhaps have him play different roles. So that was really the starting point for the idea for the film. And then also to have Liana as well. So Liana and I had also done a few little filmy bits together in the past, but also I wanted to do something for her, collaborate with her as well, something more substantially. So between those pieces, this is how it came together. And actually, so not only utilising András for multiple acting performances, but I thought that maybe there would be an economy, maybe I could save sort of time and money having the same actor play lots of different things. It turns out that wasn't really the case, because if you want to create this illusion, you have to add in like 20 extra people people in every single scene just to make it work. So I thought that it would be an efficiency and economy, which didn't quite work out. So that was it. So yeah, and I think I took about 2 months to write it, and there was some back and forth with Hans when I sort of hit some crunch points. So he was very helpful in enabling me to sort of move forward with it. So that was it. And then really I finished writing it actually 2 weeks before I really needed to shoot it, because I had the deadline for Easter in 2016 to submit the film, and so I had to get it, had to write it and then get it shot quite quickly. And then I called up on that Sunday 3 years ago. I called up both Liana and Stewart and said whether they would be up for coming over to Hungary. They both live in the UK to do it. Obviously Liana, who I had in mind for the lead role, and also Stewart, who's sort of been my partner in crime and was going to come along and just sort of be a collaborator as well for the whole process, so I didn't go completely crazy. And actually they both said yes, and which one might think that that's an absolute blessing, and it was, but it was also terrifying, because they both said yes, which meant I had to follow through with it. So then, fast forward 2 weeks, and in that time as you can see, I produced it, so I sort of did pretty much everything. But I did send the script to a couple of people, and we made some changes and we finessed it, but really 2 weeks is not enough time really to do that, but anyway. So yeah, and then we got going, and the idea was to shoot everything in this 2 week period, where Liana was going to be in Budapest, over from Brighton. And basically we did it. We managed to get most things done so that I could at least submit a version of the film for my thesis, and as a result of that, I was able to graduate, and which was great. So, and then the other piece to it really was that as we went through that process, and I sort of grew as a filmmaker over that period of time, was that I realised there were extra shots that we needed to make the film to really pop and to make it really work. But they needed to involve Liana. So then over the following year and a half, every time Liana mentioned she might be popping back to Hungary, I'd be messaging her saying, "Have you got a day? Could you give me an afternoon? We'll just run up a hill, we'll just go to the basement of Brody or whatever and do an extra shot." So I think maybe 3-4 times or something like that over subsequent visits. So if anyone has the questions, why did it take 3 years? And it was mainly, well, partly because of that sort of that aspect to it. This was zero budget. I didn't have any money to fly Liana over each and every time I needed to do something extra. So that's essentially how it all came together. As I understand it, or no, the Hungarian Film Fund does provide funding for these sorts of films, for your graduation films. But number one, I didn't know that. But also, I was actually, because I wrote it sort of quite late in the day, I probably wouldn't have had time to submit the script anyway to get funding in order to get it all made. And then the third point really is that I just wanted to, I also wanted to see how far I could go, what I could create off of my own, essentially zero budget. I mean, zero budget's a fallacy, because at the very least, yeah. I mean, I have all my own equipment, so I mean, everything was basically shot on one of these and edited on one of these. So that was kind of the zero budget aspect to it. But everyone needs to be fed, so there was money for pizza and taxis and whatever was needed, parking tickets and all that sort of stuff. So there we go. Then that's really, thank you for asking the question. I think did I comprehensively answer it? All right.
Very, very comprehensively. It sounds like next to me, Stu was your second main enabler on this one, and you were with him, Stu, for most of the shooting process. Can you talk a little bit what that was like?
I probably should. So as Steve mentioned, I'd already written music for a couple of his films, and we were obviously talking about the filmmaking process, and I just fancied seeing the other side of that, and was curious to see, how it was to make a film. And as Steve said, he told me, he asked me, and I'll do it. And so days it was probably the hardest I've ever worked, actually. Because literally we would be on set all day, and then we'd rush home, throw some food down our face, and then it'd be like, okay, I need you to design some graphics for a coffee cup. Right, okay. And then I'd run around a city I barely knew, trying to find a coffee cup and figure out how to do this stuff.
Put the graphics on it.
Put graphics on it. So yeah, and I ended up doing a little bit of everything. As again, like yourself, Hans, my name's littered throughout the credits, and I certainly didn't expect to be acting in it. And,
there you go.
Yeah, and I got roped in at the last minute. So, as Steve said, it's a zero budget thing, so it really is just kind of control chaos, and everyone just needs to jump on board and make things happen. And it was Steve's first pass at doing something of this magnitude, and certainly involving the number of people in this. And I remember turning up first day, and then we were shooting in downstairs at Brody, and there was just, I don't know, 20 people, and I was just sort of impressed that my friend had managed to coordinate this many people in one place at one time, because, trying to get people together is herding cats, right? So, so it was that.
Back to Liana here. Can you talk about getting involved in this film and what it was like on set, flying in and organizing all this?
The experience of this film was really positive from start to finish. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed doing it, shooting the film with all these wonderful people that sitting here. The selection of people are really talented, and I've learned so much from. And I just had a really great time. I learnt loads as well. In fact, when I first was asked to get involved, I was a bit nervous because I'd only really done theatre acting before, so it was my first film. So, which was obviously very, very exciting, but a little bit nerve-wracking as well. And I was contemplating whether or not I'd be able to apply any of the stage acting skills that I'd been using in things that I'd done before to film. So I had absolutely no clue. So it turns out that there are some things you can and some things you can't. So it was a steep learning curve for me, but obviously that was wonderful for me as an actress to grow in that way.
Would you do it again?
Would I do it? Yes,
would you do it? Yeah.
Definitely. I'd like, absolutely. Watching it now.
Is this the first time you've seen it, or did you get a
I've
sneak
seen it a couple of
preview?
times before. Okay. A couple of occasions, sort of once, maybe 3 months ago, was it?
Last summer, maybe.
And then also, once before that, I've seen a couple of draft edits. And I know that Steve's worked up until the last minute to get it to where it is now, and I think we can all be really proud of what the final result is.
All right, András. Basically, same question to you. What was it like? What, from your perspective? It's because this film's a lot about perspective and your character. What was it like? What do you take out of what you see here?
Hi everyone. Well, as it began, Steve and I were throwing around some ideas, and we tried to think about a lot of stuff beforehand, and then this crystallized into it out of Steve's head. I didn't really know how it all happened in there, but it did. It was pretty weird because, as Liana as well, I did stage acting, and I went to film school where I met Steve in order to do, filmmaking. But then Steve comes to me, happy as ever he is, and you can do acting, you have acting skills, so yeah, let's do acting. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm mainly doing production right now. So anyway, we went on doing this, and it was actually pretty hard for me to get back into acting and just forget all about the production stuff. Whenever there was a problem on the set, I was like, can I help with anything? And it was always like, no, you stick to your part, you're the actor. Oh yeah, I forgot. So that was pretty weird. And also what you mentioned, the perspective. Almost all of my scenes were shot me looking right into the camera. And as an actor, you spend quite a lot of time, practicing not to look into the camera. But then Yeah, I think we actually ruined a couple of shots because I was like, my eyes were automatically drifting to some other place. We had to put some tape on the camera so I could, keep looking into the lens. And yeah, as András said before me, zero budget film. Very exciting.
In what way? Why so exciting?
Well, it was exciting as in fun,
Yeah,
and exciting as in, oh good God, oh good God.
Right, nervousness. Good. Gábor.
Can I just add
Yeah.
something in there? I mean, what András has mentioned there is just really, well, it's very interesting because as he said, he had to look at all these shots all the way through, but as you saw in the credits and through the final scene in the editing suite, we have 3 actors who had to be there at all times just to get the reverse angle. So if you watch the film again, you'll see that we really meticulously made sure that we didn't break the rules here. So you only saw András through Liana's eyes, but whenever there was a wider and establishing shot, we actually had the body of the other actor, and we actually had 3 terrific actors who sort of don't really get the
Get full credit.
Get full credit. Balázs, who's now actually he's a very successful actor. He's got his own TV show in Hungary. Was the first. Was second. We have Josef, who here is an award-winning actor as well. He's just terrific. And then the third, my friend Marcin, who helps out on the third one. So again, it was very frustrating because we had this brilliant acting talent, but all we could shoot was the back of their neck and the side of their head, except for the final video. So.
Except in the final reveal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This guy, Gábor Szentiványi, has just been, we've been joined at the hip pretty much for the last 3 years because of all this, and so on one hand, an apology, but on the other hand, a huge thank you, because this is just an incredibly talented guy who forced me to up my game in every possible respect. And he was the one all the way along going, where's the film? And over the last week we've been doing the colour grade together, and it's literally it was 9 o'clock last night that he sort of signed off from the whole project finally after 3 years. So
we're lucky we get to see it today.
So another cheeky round of applause for this man, just because he's just Gábor.
You're making me blush.
How did you get involved, Gábor?
Well, it was so long ago, I really don't remember.
Yeah, okay.
No, it was, I think, originally for Steve, the whole cinematography aspect of it was a bit of a, let me say, mess. Because it was originally, he was going to shoot day 3 and 9, and then Tamás Lipich was going to shoot 4 and 6 and 12, and something like that. So he called me to fill in the days that are missing. And I think it was St. Patrick's Day 3 years ago, and I was down to my 4th Guinness, and then I told Steve that, well, I'd rather just do the whole thing, because then this, to avoid chaos, because you could have much more control if you oversee the whole project, and so that's pretty much how it began, and we had, I think, was a week before principal photography started. So it was a real challenge because I haven't seen any locations. I barely read the script, and it was the deep end of the pool that here, do it. It's like, this is your location, this is your camera, you have 3 lights, let's shoot. So it was really exciting in that regard.
Cool.
A challenge.
Back to you, Stu. Sound and music, if it's done right, you almost don't even notice. If it's not, it's so obvious. I didn't know until recently that you had done the soundtrack. Can you tell us about the process that went into that?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, a little bit of context. I've known Steve for a very, very long time.
How long is a very long time?
3 years?
No, we're talking decades. So,
Decades? 3 decades more? Something like that, okay.
I don't want to work it out, it'd just be scary. And Steve and I have all kind of always connected over music, and we've always had different ends of the spectrum, but there's always been a certain common ground, and we were in a band together for one gig. We did one gig, didn't we? Doing sort of like, we did some Smashing Pumpkins and something anyway. So we've had that history, and then actually my sort of I guess my journey started a not dissimilar time to Steve's, where I finally got around to releasing an EP of my own music, just entirely on my own. I'd been in bands before, but this was just something I did for myself. And then Steve and I sort of got talking about, you know, the whole creative process and parallels between what I was doing and what he was doing. And, you know, I expressed an interest in scoring films, and so I did a couple of short films, like one with Martin. So I need to say hello to you because I knew it was you, because I know what you look like, because I've seen you a lot, but on screen. So those were those two, and they were almost easier because one with Martin in was it was a sort of smooth spy thing, so it was very easy to kind of just go and listen to a bunch of spy soundtracks and kind of pick up themes and riff on that and do my own version of that. This was a lot harder in that I almost had to dial it back a lot, and it was continually like, the process was I would do something and then Steve would be like, well, can it be a little bit less this? And then I'd do that, and then sometimes it'd be, no, you need to go back the other way. And really it came down, so I'd been listening to, I'd become aware of Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross's soundtrack work, and I was trying to get in that space, but the thing was, once I found that single sort of tone, a harmonically rich kind of drone, everything kind of just built around that essentially. So it was about trying to keep the music quite neutral, because obviously it's not, you know, the reveal's at the end, right? So you don't want the music to say too much about this is this type of movie. So yeah, it literally came down to almost just being sonnets and not even writing anything particularly melodically strong.
Steve, would you do anything differently?
I think,
or all exactly the same as you did?
Well, I think that. I mean, this has been just critical. This has been critical in terms of my filmmaking journey, because it just I needed to do. I'm all across this film in terms of every sort of aspect of it, editing it, and I wanted to. This was sort of almost my film school to complete the film and to do every single aspect of it. Actually, I didn't want to act in it, but by the time, because we had so little time before we started shooting. And I couldn't find an actor in Hungary who sort of could convincingly have the same sort of accent or the same age range as Liana. So in the end, I opted to do that. But to answer your question, I would never do both again. I would definitely, or I would not act and direct in the same thing. I'm just very happy to be behind the camera. So that's my place. And really, everything I've learned from this has allowed me to understand when money needs to go in a film, and therefore, hopefully, I'll never do one. You know, there will be a budget going forward, which means that, you know, I want to be able to pay my cast and crew and be able to just do the right thing by everyone. But I'm hugely grateful that everyone was able to do this and help achieve what we did. So not acting in it. Just directing, have a budget, actually have a separate producer as well, producing it myself. I think you need to have someone who has an element of it, or a strong aspect of impartiality in the process. So being my own producer, it's wonderful if it's Citizen Kane, but if there are any flaws to it, it's kind of all yours. So you kind of, there's nowhere to hide when you screen it. So and then just find the final one, number 4, would just be actually from the script writing process, just take longer before you need to shoot it. You know, just have another month for passing it around your trusted sort of advisors, get people to read it, make changes. Because we ended up, I mean, we shot what we shot, but I actually ended up rewriting some of it after we'd shot most of the principle, and I changed a couple of little things, so we had to go back and do some things. So the writing, getting the writing right up front.
All right, good. So what's next?
So what's next for me? The other thing that I've been doing for the last 3 years is I've been writing mainly, and so now is sort of the end of my writing period, which synchronizes with the screening. So I've written 2 feature films, and I'm going to try and move forward and get some funding for those, so that we can get those made. And as you saw, one of the aspects of this film is that because it's 10 minutes is sort of the sweet spot for typical short films and sending them to festivals, or everyone knows what a 10-minute film is, and then there's a feature film at the other end which is 90 minutes. So this is 35 minutes, so it didn't really sort of fell between these two places. But what I actually thought, which is what this diminishing effect thing is, distancing effect is to actually, it's sort of to force myself to get, I've got lots of writing ideas, and I've got some films which wouldn't necessarily be 90 minutes, so it could be around about this 35 minutes. So maybe I would sort of finish off writing these other two and sort of maybe kind of complete a trilogy here, or 3 episodes in an anthology series, which kind of play with this technical aspect of filming. So we're breaking the fourth wall, using this perspective aspect. So they would have nothing to do with this film other than using similar sort of techniques to push the ideas of cinema. So that's it.